So welcome everyone to I think it's our fourth or fifth Inside Judaism event. And tonight's event is sponsored by Antoinette Hubbard in honor of Maureen Pyle, Elliot Helfer, and Ashley and Carolyn. Also by Amit and Abigail Torin. Also sponsored by Ray and Marianne Conager and Sage Huggins. Also sponsored by Esther DiVeroli, as well as Lisa Posner in loving memory of her father, Sinai Natan ben Chaim, and her brother, Michael ben Sinai Natan. Also sponsored by Shulamit Michal, Susan Strasburger, in loving memory of her father, Daniel ben Yosef Goldberg. And I want to thank our sponsors, and may their support of Breslov Women programs be a merit for them and usher in all the blessings of the Torah. So tonight we're talking about one of my favorite topics, something that really is a topic that might be considered philosophical, but Rebbe Nachman's approach, of course, is psycho-spiritual rather than philosophical. The topic is free will. Now, Rebbe Nachman says when it comes down to despair or repair, he famously says there is no such thing as despair. Yeush, despair, it doesn't exist. Now, anybody who's lived for more than 5 minutes in this world can look around and see plenty of people in despair. And we ourselves may have had points in time in our lives where we felt despair. So what is Rebbe Nachman talking about? So what he is saying is that despair only exists through our own will, because in reality, despair is an illusion. And with this very basic concept, he's telling us about the intensive, amazing power of our will and our ability to choose. So, Ratzon, okay, I might use these terms tonight, so I'm going to just introduce you to them. Ratzon means will or desire. Free will and the power to choose is the word bechira. And this refers to our ability to make a choice. Ratzon, our will, is the desire, the yearning to make that choice, whatever it may be. So the Rebbe gives us an insight that is very valuable. When we want to do anything in this life, we have to understand how important free will and our ability to choose is. The Rebbe calls it both a mystery and a miracle. So it's a mystery because it's a paradox. We have free will, we have the ability to choose, we have bechira, but Hashem has foreknowledge of everything. Why does he have foreknowledge? Because Hashem transcends space and time. Hashem created space and time. So if we choose something in space and time, we choose to walk over to the door and answer the door. Okay, that's our choice. Or we might choose to not walk over to the door and not answer our door. That's also our choice. But Hashem knows ultimately what we're going to choose and what's going to happen. It feels to us like this is predetermined. Because if there is an outcome that's known, therefore, can we really choose? So bear with this kind of philosophical idea for a moment. Rebbe Nachman isn't going to offer us a way to resolve this. He says there is no way. At best, we can say, if it happened already, it was the will of God. And if it hasn't happened already, my free choice begins from this moment in time forward. This doesn't make sense. This transcends the boundaries of our minds. It's a paradox. There's no way we can wrap our heads around it. If you can wrap your heads around it, then the logic is faulty. No offense. Okay? And the Rebbe doesn't want us to try to solve spiritual and religious and psychological paradoxes. Because if Hashem, who created everything from nothing, was small enough to be understood by us, he wouldn't have been great enough to create everything out of nothing. This is where Amunah comes in. This is where faith comes in. We have to believe that we have free will, yet Hashem knows everything that's going to happen. All right. Hopefully we can just set this aside. If you've never thought about this before, or you've never heard of these concepts before, it's an uncomfortable feeling because I'm not going to help you resolve this. Rebbe Nachman's not going to help you resolve this. And we just have to rest with it. Okay, that's our premise to go forward. The philosophers of the world, by the way, will try to debate this. The Greek, Western philosophers, the Eastern philosophers. And the most they can come up with is either a puzzlement and, God forbid, atheism in the West, or a cone, another paradox in the East. So we accept this on faith. All right. So our free choice, our ability to choose begins in this moment in time. And it begins in this moment in time. And in this moment in time, we are constantly being supplied with opportunities to choose. What's the purpose? So I would like to read to you something that also isn't going to resolve our problem. Something also from Rebbe Nachman, from Sichos Haran. In English, the translation is Rabbi Nachman's Wisdom by the Breslov Research Institute. The Rebbe is speaking to his leading student, his leading scribe, the great scholar and tzaddik in his own right, Rebbe Natan. And the Rebbe says, you do speak with people. You can ask them what. He emphasized the word what, was in Yiddish, stressing it in a loud voice from the depths of his heart. What? Was? It is fitting to ask this question of people who do not think about their purpose in life. Was? What? After all the arguments and confusions and obstacles, the vain and foolish complaints and excuses. Was? What? You say that you have reason to be far from God. Was? What? What will become of you? What will you do in the end? What will you answer the one who sent you here down into this world? What are you thinking? What are you on earth, if not a stranger? What is your life, if not a passing shadow, scattered cloud? You know this well. So what do you have to say? Place these words well on your heart. Bring them into the depths of your being. Don't ignore them. Turn them over and over, and you will see salvation for your neshama, for your soul. The Rebbe is telling us that asking what, was, okay, what am I doing here, This is a hint to this concept of our power to choose. We must have at least an initial investigation into the what if we want to understand what free will really is. Now, the whole world thinks free will and choice is about enforcing and pushing their will on a situation and making something happen. But a Jewish point of view is a little more subtle. Free will is like light. Light can be viewed as particles or waves. I know how much Esther DiVaroli loves my physics analogies. I hope she'll bear with me. She can laugh at me if she wants. You can laugh, Esther. Light is a particle or it's a wave, depending how you look at it. Okay, and don't worry, I'm not going to do Schrodinger's cat tonight. Okay, so our worldview is a series of choices, before and after, reward and punishment. In a way, we ourselves are the creators. Everything depends on our ability to observe. When we do a mitzvah, we create a defending angel. When we transgress, we create a prosecuting angel. All of this comes together in the idea that Hashem is giving us the ability to create our own life and our own reality. We are co-creators with Hashem. Okay. A co-creator has power. A co-creator has power. What is this power that we have? It's really nothing at all. Hashem can create a centipede out of nothing. He can create a mountain out of nothing. He can create a cloud out of nothing. He created the universe out of nothing. He created a neshama, a human soul, out of nothing. What can we create? Nothing. But what we really can create is an observation that gives us the ability to choose. Is everybody with me so far? I hope so. If you have a question, open your chat on the side. If you go down to the bottom, you'll see a little tab that says chat, and you can type in a question or you can raise your hand and talk. So the idea is we are creating our reality. We are creating our existence in a way, so to speak. Yes, Hashem created us and put us in this world, but it's up to us to ask thus what, as the Rebbe said from the passage that I read before. So there is a world of truth. This world is the world of Echad. This is the world of oneness. This is the world of Ein Od Milvado. There is nothing but Hashem, where divisions don't exist. What are divisions? What are choices? What are options? These are really an illusion created by Hashem. So again, why would Hashem create free will? What free choice? Bechira, the ability to choose. Why would he create divisions? Okay, if everything is one, we say the Shema every day. Okay, Hashem Echad. We know that Hashem is one. We know that everything is one. Yet to us, we see categories. We see symbols. We see differences. We see different people. We see different objects. So everything is here specifically, says Rebbe Nachman, in order that we choose. This is the gift part of free will. Hashem set up the entire world, says the Rebbe, in order that we make choices. This is really a mind-blowing concept. I think that it brings a new way of thinking about everything we do. We're so used to when are discussing Torah, thinking about making a choice. Is this choice going to align me with Hashem? Is this choice going to pull me away from Hashem? But what's the purpose of the choice to begin with? The purpose of the choice to begin with is for us to grow, for us to develop, for us, again, to be that co-creator with Hashem. Okay. I'm going to go to something a little bit lighter, okay, because I know that I said a lot of heady words. So free will is a gift to us. And I want you to imagine a gift, okay? You have a choice. You can either imagine a very expensive, beautiful piano or other instrument, or you can imagine a custom designed car. If you want to imagine something else, go ahead. Those are the two options I picked for this example. If your piano, which is worth tens of thousands of dollars, as good pianos are, if it is sitting in the music room, or if your custom-made car made just for you sits in a garage, you may possess it, you may own it, but is it yours? Okay. Have you used it? Why wouldn't you use it? So what we have to think about is how we use our free will. Our free will is worth more than a many thousands of dollars piano, and it's worth more than a custom designed car. I don't know if anybody's ever seen one. I did once. It was kind of unbelievable. I couldn't believe somebody bought one, but they did. And what we have to understand is that if these items, just like our free will, are sitting around not being used, we don't take full possession of them. Free will requires squatters' rights. You can't just have it. You have to live in it. You have to use it. Okay? It's a gift from Hashem that he wants us to use, not only in the big decisions. Who should I marry? What job should I have? Should I, grow in my observance of Shabbat? Those are big, important questions. Hashem wants us to use our free will and our ability to choose in the small questions ourselves. Let me tell you about the divine connection that free will has. I'm not going to be able tonight to go over the entire Sephardic chart, but suffice it to say that there are 2 points on the chart of the Sephirot that are related to this topic of free will in a very relevant and profound way. The first item of the Sephirot that is related to will is the item called Keter, the Sephira of Keter, which is usually pictured as being above a head. Okay. Keter expresses divine will. That's what Keter is. Keter is also our personal will. When we tap into this power of divine will, which is connected to Hashem, we strengthen our personal will. Now, we have many choices that we can do with that will. We can choose to use it for divine purposes or not. Okay. So Keter only shows up on the chart of the Sefirot. Most of you know what that is. On the chart of the Sefirot when Dot doesn't show up. Dot is often called knowledge, translated as knowledge. Keter is will or crown. Dot is knowledge. And knowledge, according to this particular model, is the absolute expression of will in this world. When we are plugged into Keter, the divine will, we have not yet expressed the divine or a personal will. Hopefully they're unified in this world, okay? It is an external manifestation of will and purpose. So I will give you an example. Let's say the divine will is that you put on a happy face when you meet your difficult neighbor. I'm giving a very prosaic, simple example. And you put on a happy face because you know we should put on a happy face. We should show people a smile, even though this neighbor is difficult. This is the divine will. As long as you don't have the opportunity and the action of smiling at this neighbor, this just keeps you in that state where you haven't expressed the will yet. When you have the opportunity to smile and you do so, you've made the choice. The choice is very important in this model. You've made the choice to express the divine will, which you have aligned your own will with. Okay, this is a very basic example. However, everything in our lives goes through this pattern. Either we express this will knowingly, consciously, making a conscious choice, or we don't. We make an unconscious choice, a choice we're not aware of. When we make a choice we're not really aware of making, it's like leaving the car in the garage and leaving the piano in the music room. We haven't practiced it. We haven't played it. How many people do you know have gone through life, have drifted through life like a dry leaf thrown into the ocean, just traveling on the waves, up and down and up and down, bumping into whatever the next event and situation is? We can't do that. We have to express and choose divine will, and we have to decide whether our personal will is going to be part of that situation. Okay, now, what are our obstacles to will? So I mentioned the first one is we don't use our will. Okay, we just leave those things in the garage in the music room, and we don't use our will. We don't exercise our will. We don't practice our will. Even a young child has to practice their will. When a young child has a temper tantrum, obviously not when they're in their terrible twos, that can be very difficult. A little older, they get angry, they get upset. Okay, we have to gently teach them. That they have the power to choose how to react to things. They may not be able to control themselves immediately, but over time, little by little, when we help them and show them that they are able to regulate their emotions and make choices about how they feel and how they express, they have exercised their power to choose, and they're practicing it, and they'll be able to apply it in a variety of different situations. Obstacles are not only that we don't use it. There are times where we might have limited free will. For example, Pharaoh, we know that Hashem hardened his heart, okay? It didn't mean that Hashem cut off his free will completely, say our sages. He still had the ability to do the right thing if he wanted. He could have let the Jews go. He could have not chased them in the desert and come after them with his chariots and his army. But he chose to chase them because Hashem hardened his heart, took away his mercy, took away his ability to feel and understand and appreciate that everything was from Hashem. So Hashem limited his free will. Now you notice his ability to choose. I didn't say he limited his ability to chase after the Jews, or he limited his ability to make a move or to command his army. No, He limited his inner ability, because this really is most of our limitations when Hashem limits us. He's limiting our inner ability to choose. He doesn't usually do that with us, by the way. Usually we have complete ability to choose. Sometimes we say, I can't, but we really can't. Okay. Bilam. Okay, everybody knows who Bilam is. Hashem limited his ability to curse. He came to curse us, and instead he blessed us, as the Torah says. So there are times where Hashem might limit someone's ability to make a choice and even to force a situation. However, most of us are limited by one thing. That's when we don't believe we really have free will. We feel that we are limited and trapped by our circumstances or our natures, our personalities. Okay. We really don't think that we have the power to choose. I mentioned I can't do this. I can't give this. I can't say that. Okay. I can't try. Okay. That is our greatest limitation. And this comes completely from us. It's called the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. It's the thing that we need to squash in order to get to that next spiritual level. When we don't believe we have a choice, not only have we disempowered ourselves, we've empowered the Yetzer Hara. I'm going to read you a story now, which is usually told, not necessarily told about this point, about the concept of free will, but it perfectly expresses what we're talking about. It's one of Rebbe Nachman's stories, and it's called The Turkey Prince. A royal prince once became mad and thought that he was a turkey. He felt compelled to sit naked under the table, pecking at bones and pieces of bread like a turkey. The royal physicians all gave up hope of ever curing him of this madness, and the king suffered tremendous grief. A sage then came and said, I will undertake to cure him. The sage undressed and sat naked under the table next to the prince, picking crumbs and bones. Who are you? Asked the prince. What are you doing here? And you, replied the sage, what are you doing here? I'm a turkey, said the prince. I'm also a turkey, said the sage. They sat together like this for some time until they became good friends. One day, the sage signaled the king's servants to throw him shirts. He said to the prince, what makes you think that a turkey can't wear a shirt? You can wear a shirt and still be a turkey. With that, the two of them put on shirts. After a while, he signaled them again, and they threw him a pair of pants. Just as before, he said, what makes you think that you can't be a turkey if you wear pants? The sage continued in this manner until they were both completely dressed. Then he signaled again, and they were given regular food from the table. Again, the sage said, what makes you think that you will stop being a turkey if you eat good food? You can eat whatever you want and still be a turkey. They both ate the food. Finally, the sage said, what makes you think a turkey must sit under the table? Even a turkey can sit at the table. The sage continued in this manner until the prince was completely cured. Okay. What was the sage teaching the prince? The sage was teaching the prince that he was able to choose, that he had the power of free will, that he had the power to make a choice despite what he perceived as his limitations. Okay. The sage was smart, very intelligent, a wise man. That's what a sage is. The sage represents the tzaddik, Rebbe Nachman, who doesn't throw at us the full dinner and the full outfit right away. He says, just put on a shirt. You can be who you want to be, but you can choose to just put on a shirt. You can be who you want to be, but you can just choose to smile at your neighbor. You can just choose to do something that aligns you with the potential that you really have to co-create your life with Hashem, as I said in the beginning. This is really the gift of learning Rebbe Nachman's teachings. He teaches us so many things. People say he teaches us about joy. People say he teaches us about Hibodedut, personal prayer, in which we talk to Hashem in our own words about whatever is on our mind and in our hearts. People say Rebbe Nachman teaches us about this thing and that thing, but ultimately, Rebbe Nachman teaches us that we have the power to make choices. We have the power to even decide we want to be a turkey. Still, we have the power to choose to dress like a human being, to eat like a human being, to get out from under the table, even if we feel like a turkey. That's not called phoniness. What that's called is expressing keter. Okay, as I mentioned before, it's called da'at. And little by little, with the actions that we choose, we come to believe in the most important thing. I should say two most important things. We come to believe in ourselves, and we come to believe that we are of value to Hashem and his plan for the world. Okay, Rebbe Nachman spoke about atheism. He said, in this day and age, right now, the times before Mashiach was going to arrive any minute, please Hashem. Okay, we hope to welcome him together. That right now, in this day and age, people, there would be facing a flood of atheism, a lack of belief. Rabbi Kramer always says very simply, Rabbi Chaim Kramer always says very simply, the times I've discussed this with him, it really is a lack of belief in ourselves. Because if we believe in ourselves, we understand that we have the power to choose. Now, today, it's very, it's a trend in education, okay? To tell a child, you can do anything you want to do. You can be anything you want to be, okay? It used to be you could tell a child, you could win that tournament. You can be a straight A student. You want to be an astronaut, go right ahead. Today, we're telling children that they can do things that aren't even biologically possible. No comment. I won't go there. But the idea is that the more we kid ourselves that we can do anything, the more we delude ourselves and the more we break down our real power of choice. Because our real power of choice isn't necessarily the power that we have to actually bulldoze our way through the reality that we must live in. This is a reality that we must live in, not the world of oneness, the world of division. We really don't have that power. But what we do have is the power to make choices. This is the greatest power. Now, we choose our thoughts and feelings. We choose to believe there is no hope or despair. That's why the Rebbe says there is no such thing as despair. It's up to us to make these choices. We need another. We need something else in order to make choices, in order to believe that we have the power to choose, the power to choose how we feel about situations, the power to choose how we react and respond to situations. Okay. This is patience. Okay. And I'm going to read you something. This is from Chaya Rivka. It's from, in the English translation is the book called Tzaddik, published by the Breslov Research Institute. We need to have patience. Okay. So I will begin. When something can be done today, never leave it for tomorrow, says the Rebbe, because the world doesn't stop even for a second. Anything that you can do to serve Hashem, anything that can help you grow spiritually and really fulfill your potential and ad-libbing here, okay, should be done immediately and with determination, without delay. Why? Because who knows what obstacles, outer and inner, you're going to face if you leave it till later. Our world consists only of the present. As I said before, our bechira, our ability to choose, our free choice exists in this moment now, going forward. And now, it exists in the moment. That's how we live. We have to grab those choices. However, there's a however, which has to do with patience, and it's an important component of this whole picture. The Rebbe says that there are times where we see that in spite of all our efforts and determination, you can't succeed in what you want, even in your ability to make a simple choice. You make a simple choice. I'm not talking about an external choice like I'm going to travel from A to B, but a simple choice like next time I see my neighbor, I am going to try to smile at her. I'm going to try. Yeah, she pushes my buttons, but you know what? I'm making that choice. And you see her face and she has a scowl on it, and she may even turn her back on you or say something slight, and you just this time can't smile. So you have to be patient. You not only have to be patient with the situations you're facing, you have to be patient with yourself. The Rebbe encourages us to understand that this is all a process. It all takes time. Don't be discouraged. I'm saying his words now. Don't be discouraged because you're not achieving what you want. Don't let this push you off course. You must wait a little until the time comes. The important thing to get through the fact that none of us is going to go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, okay? We're just not. The important thing to get through it is to look towards Hashem at all times with yearning. To yearn to get there. We have to want to get there, to not give up, to pray, to talk to Hashem, to talk to ourselves and say, I want to get there. I want to make the right choices. I want to take that keter and manifest it in the world and express my dot, okay? And express my knowledge by living up to what I know and believe to be true. That's authenticity. That's self-actualization. Nobody's at it 100%. Not one person can be there 100%. It takes time. It takes desire. It takes patience and yearning and prayer. Now, Hashem gives us a lot of opportunities. He will not let another opportunity pass you by if this is what you want. But the key to it is the patience combined with the wanting and the yearning. So what if you don't want? What if you're a human being like the rest of us? And there are times where you say, okay, this is very nice. But really what I really want is to sit down with a good novel and a nice drink, a nice delicious hot tea with honey or whatever your tipple is. And that's really what I want. I really don't want to like do the right thing and make that effort. I just want to relax. Okay. So the Rebbe says he understands. And he says the only thing you have to ask yourself in that case, and we all have moments like that. I have a lot of them every day, many of them. The only thing you have to ask yourself is, do you want to want? Do you want to yearn to grow in this direction, even if you're not actually yearning now? Okay. And then if you want to want, you will get there because Hashem leads us down the path we want to walk. Okay. All right. I would like to give you an example of free will. I have a lot of examples, but I want to give you the example of someone contemporaneous to us. I read his autobiography, not completely, of the period of time he was in jail. Shalom Mordechai Rabashkin. I think it was written by his son or daughter. I don't think it was written by him, but it's actually very well written. I feel embarrassed I don't know the author. But I had a lot of examples here. And right now, this is the one I feel like speaking about. Here was a man who was put in jail. And he was treated very terribly. And he really could have despaired and given up. Yet, he pushed himself every day to want, to desire to come closer to Hashem. Every day he got up and he prayed. And every day he got up and he found Jews in prison that he could inspire. Okay, we're talking, some of these people were hardened criminals that he could inspire. And he found ways through his yearning and his desire, his tefillah, to do things like make Pesach Seder, okay, in prison with grape juice, not at the right time because they had to finish early, okay, with grape juice and boxed matzahs and jars of gefilte fish or whatever else they let them have. And when you read a book like this, I happen to love biographies very, very much, inspiring biographies of people. I like to read biographies of people who have mastered their own ability to choose. And usually what they've mastered is the ability to not give up and to not despair. As Rebbe Nachman says, and I said in the beginning of tonight's discussion, there is no such thing as despair. Okay, I just wanted to mention him. There are many more. If you want examples and you want some great biographies to read, you can just text or email me. I'll be happy to send you a list. Okay. So another point that I want to bring out that I think is very helpful is to use our power of free will to choose to pray for free will. What do I mean? So we can accomplish a lot just by our own determination. It's true. Certainly psychospiritually we can. We can grow, we can do all kinds of things, but we don't have to do it alone. We can, should, and must ask Hashem for help. So if you want to really come to believe that you have the power to choose to want, or to choose to grow, or to choose to make changes in your life, to choose to see the things you want to see, to choose to be the co-creator of your life, not just for the big picture stuff, but for the little everyday stuff, which is why I gave you that really small, tiny example of smiling at that difficult neighbor. It's small. It's not a big thing. Yet if you conquer it, it's a mountain. You've climbed Mount Everest if you can smile at your difficult neighbor. There is nothing more liberating, and there's no greater feeling of power than conquering your power of free choice. and deciding to do what you know is the right thing to do. So we have to pray to Hashem for help. And I would like to share with you a prayer. I am not going to read the whole thing, but I did want to do some reading tonight. I'm going to read you part of it. And this prayer is from Likutei Tefillot, okay? This is an English translation. It's Hebrew on one page, English on the other. Breslov Research Institute should thank me for selling their books, but they are fantastic. And this is volume 5 of the 7-volume set with a beautiful translation. And let me just briefly tell you about these prayers in case you're not familiar with them. Rebbe Nachman explicitly told Reb Nosson, and in fact ended up telling all his followers, to turn his lessons into prayers. So Reb Nosson composed the most beautiful prayers that touch on every possible subject you could imagine. And they are based on most, not all, of the Rebbe's lessons. They're one-to-one equivalents. And I think of them, I love Tehillim. I teach a Tehillim class. You can join me tomorrow morning at 11 New York time. We are up to, I think, chapter 27. But I love Tehillim. And yes, I find myself in Tehillim. We all do. Tehillim was written for each of us. But Reb Nosson's prayers use a language that in many ways is more relatable for today, even in the Hebrew original. And so it's like a, I wouldn't call it a popular Tehillim, but a Tehillim that if you find Tehillim might be a little bit not accessible sometimes. This is, I think they're both accessible, but this uses language that's much more colloquial. Okay. Now, Rebbe Nachman said that whenever we learn something, we should pray about it. We should talk to Hashem about it and ask him to help us understand what we've learned and ask him to help us make it a reality in our lives. Okay, this is what Hitbodedut is. Okay, it's not just asking Hashem for things, which is good. It's important. It's not just confessing and working things out, but it's also saying, Hashem, I sat down, I read this great book. I'd like to apply it in my life. Or Hashem, I heard this class and, one thing stuck with me. I don't want to just say, oh, wow, that was a really great idea, and then walk away and, and not use it. Help me make it part of my life, Hashem. So this prayer is, again, I'm only reading a small part of it, is a prayer that corresponds to lesson 190 in Likutei Moharan. And it's prayer number 129. Why they're not in order, I don't know. I actually always mean to ask, and I always forget to ask, but I'll ask one day. And this is a prayer that Reb Nosson, the first part of this prayer, says should be said on the 7th of Adar, which is the yahrzeit of Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom. However, we can say it any time. I certainly do. Okay, I am going to read it to you. It's called The Miracle of Free Will. Hashem, you have investigated me and you know my sitting and my rising. You understand how to attach me to you from afar. You know my going about and my lying down. You have encompassed me and you have seen all my ways, for there is no word on my tongue unknown to you, because you know everything, Hashem. Ribono Sha'olam, Master of the world, giver of the Torah, you who love your nation of Israel, you who choose your nation of Israel with love in your mercy and compassion. You gave us free will to choose life or its opposite, heaven forbid. This power of free will that you gave man is a wonder of wonders, the greatest wonder of all creation and all worlds, as is taught in a number of holy texts. There is nothing as wondrous, awesome, and hidden in the creation of all worlds as this elevated and lofty wonder, this wondrous and hidden innovation, the existence of a creature with your power of free will to choose the path that he, or in our case, she wants, to have the power to do your will or defy your will, heaven forbid. Regarding this, King David said, awesomely have I been formed. Wondrous are your deeds, which my soul knows well. Knowledge is hidden from me. I cannot attain it. Where will I go from your spirit? And where will I flee from your face? So this takes us back. There's plenty more free will on free will in this particular prayer. This takes us back to this conundrum we have, this paradox we have. Hashem knows everything. The reason that our free will and our ability to choose is a wonder and a miracle is because Hashem knows everything. He knows our thoughts. He knows our feelings. Yet he wants us to talk to him about our thoughts and feelings. He knows what we're going to choose. Yet he also gives us the ability to choose without pressure, without knowing that he knows and what the outcome will be. Free will requires another thing, and that is the power to commit to using it. We just have to commit to using it, to be aware of it, and we have to make our choices. And if we learn the teachings of Rebbe Nachman of Breslov, we can get out from under the table like the turkey prince and exercise our power of free will to sit at the table with the nobility. Okay. So that is a little discussion of free will. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I know it's really heady stuff. It's not such simple stuff. Any questions or comments, anyone? If you do, you can unmute yourself or you can type in the.
I think he gives us the free will, even though he knows what we're going to do, because he wants us to actually utilize it in a positive way and also to become closer to him and to do the right thing. So
Yes.
even though he knows what we're going to do, he actually gives it to us to do the right thing.
Yes, perfect summation. Yes, although we shouldn't worry about what Hashem knows. When we're exercising our free will, we have to understand that the matter is hidden from us. But absolutely, Lisa. Any more questions or comments? No? Okay. I hope I didn't overwhelm you. I'm so excited about this topic, and I know there's so much in it. And I know this is just an overview, but it's still a very paradoxical and deep and mysterious topic. So, okay. So I'm going to pause the recording. Oops, pause the recording.